I'm hoping to publish a short story anthology here soon. I have to write the stories first. I've got like 3 of them that are out of the first draft phase. One of them that I'm trying to finish the first draft of. I've got like 8 others like kind of planned and plotted out, but filling in the blanks is kind of tough. And some of these are funny. I have to really immerse myself in worldviews and characters and customs and worlds and places that are so very different than the things that I think or feel or that I've grown up in or come to believe. Some of them are pretty good, and I think that ending one of them with a little passage I'm about to share was a pretty solid landing. After illustrating this, it's this fictional letter of this alchemist who is writing out in his old age to his mentees and disciples and students, and saying, hey, these are some of the things that I think are valuable. These are some of the things that I've learned. And he gets to the end of the letter after describing this ruin that he passes by like every single day for decades. And so he's gotten to see the ruin kind of erode over time, and it was already there when he had moved to this place that he lives in now. He doesn't know really much about its history, and he's just gotten to watch it kind of slowly but surely erode into the lake upon which it is sat. He says, I've always loved that ruin and its tower. Or rather, I have always found it special. It reminds me daily of the specialness of all things, through change and decay and overgrowth and renewal. Encouraging to imagine that I could embrace my reality with the same peace and harmony as the ruin, which lets itself be embedded in nature with dignity, without strife against the rules of time and death. When I glimpse at those shattered windows, I feel connected, bearing a confidence in my knowledge of its purpose. Curiosity fosters in me of why I and this ancient ruin should exist concurrently, and why the specialness I attribute to this ruin attunes me to my connection to the world I share with it. The ruin may have once been a grand hall or a tiny pantry. It matters little. It is now weathered into the correct shape for its time, according to the means of nature and change. It underlines a primary value of my craft. If this world contains things which are significant, and if all the world's contents are connected, then all connected things must bear some level of significance. And if all things are special on some level, then there is nothing that is insignificant. Like the ruin and its tower, there is no need to be concerned with timelines or dread the outcomes. The absolute reality is that you are at this place at this time. Like the ruin and its tower, you are a weathered correctness in the world, in place, even if not at peace, within it. Bear witness to the world you are a part of, and remain awake for now. The time to rest dreamfully in the lake bed will arrive eventually, but for now, you must change. And if old Lord Thethan grew up into, well, became an even older person, an older man, and became an older man who was, at peace and content and satisfied and found joy and peace in his place in the universe. This is the kind of thing that he might write. But let me tell you, this is never the kind of thing that you'll ever hear me saying. But you know who else it might be that you could imagine saying this? Is Lifeweaver, or the people who play him. What is up, everybody? My name is Ethan. I go by Lord Thethan, and I'm an Overwatch Collegiate Varsity Coach of coming up on almost 6 years. I've almost got 10,000 coaching hours logged, which is bonkerous to me. And I'm looking to pad it out a little bit by taking a look at some Lifeweaver gameplay today. This is the first Lifeweaver that we've actually gotten to examine on the channel so far, so a huge shout out goes to Diskk for providing this replay code. The fun thing about this one is that it's a quick play code too, but it's a control point, right? It's I think it's a 3-round one, because this is like a 12-minute replay code. So the cool thing is that this is an excellent sample, or it should be a really good sample of the Lifeweaver gameplay. It's really good as well, or it's possible that you would get that from almost every map that this player plays, because Diskk here is actually a one-trick pony Lifeweaver player, and their question is just, how do I get better, right? So honestly, the fun thing about that is you really get better just by playing, just by logging in, playing more hours, playing more games, building new experiences. I've said it in replay codes previous, that you have to go in and make as many mistakes, as many different mistakes as you possibly can, as quickly as possible. And that's the way to rank up. That's the way to get better. You can also start by watching all my videos. I say the same stuff in every single one, but all the way up to up until you hit GM1. This is something I saw Awkward say, and I thought that this was really, really excellent. And I would absolutely be telling you the same thing, which is why I am. Up until you hit GM1, it's not like the little rules and interactions that really matter much about the game, right? The rules do matter, but it's really just the fundamentals that we have to be on top of. So hopefully we get some really nice demonstrations of what those look like, and how to adhere to them, how to apply them to our advantage. Now, I do want to remark right off the bat that there is more than just the map to play here. We're playing in what I call the straight line formation. It's bad for a lot of reasons, and I've gone over it in previous VOD reviews, but really there is plenty of reasons to start out over here, to move all the way over here, right, so that we aren't susceptible to the damage that's going to come from the main angle, right? We're only playing this one position, right? And the longer we play in one spot, the easier we are going to be to get picked out of it, right? So I like the healing. Be careful though. We are only healing, and I would ask you, doesn't make sense to heal targets that are at full HP. Well, if not, then be looking for damage, and the best way to look for damage is to be in positions where you can get damage, right? If you had started the fight over here, would you have been able to heal the team, do a little bit of pressure and poke onto say the window over here, and then move back over here whenever the Emre comes over here, so that you can keep him up and even apply a little bit of pressure on this side? Do you have to only be behind your run on your side of the map, your side of the point the entire time? And also, by the way, I might gripe about this later, but I just noticed, and I want to say, no 40 blossoms, no 30 blossoms. We like fully charged blossoms, or at least as much of a charge of a blossom as we need to get the healing that is appropriate to deal onto the person. I don't mind that combo there. Sets up your Yari, although I would kind of let your teammates also be willing to kind of play the game the way that they want, and you just be ready to help them with it, right? It's clear that we're thinking about our teammate here, but really, right, after you get to this position, or really the whole time, you should really be thinking about yourself, or rather, because you are just on the low ground, in the middle of the open, not near walls, corners, covers, not with angles that you can see for to either apply pressure, do damage, or to get scouting info. By the way, just stay on high ground here, right? Don't walk forward to do things that we can do at range, right? Don't walk forward to play further within what is already an effective range, right? So Weaver has insane range. He has no damage fall off on his projectiles, and so those are all advantages that help him keep his distance. Keep the distance. Don't drop off from high ground for no reason, and remember, play left or right, off angle. We only have about 8 to 12 seconds to live or to play in any one position, right? So really, really important. I don't mind that grip either, because we're all going to be resetting. We're all grouping up. That's a nice opening pick that our Iyari manages to get here onto who was that? That was their Onron. Yeah, really, really nice pick. And I really like the damage that you're doing here as well, right? Make sure that we're doing a little bit of everything. I notice here that we're reloading as Lifeweaver, and I hate that, actually. I hate reloading as Lifeweaver. I like going through my healing blossoms and going through my thorns, and then going through my healing blossoms, and then going through my thorns, because you reload your weapon when it is not out, right? Mercy, Torbjorn, and Weaver all do it. So if your thorns are out, your blossoms are reloading as long as you don't swap to your blossoms before that reloading is done. I think it's 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds, right? And that's more than enough time to launch out half of your clip with either of the firing modes, right? So I really like the idea of going for you would say maximum uptime on Lifeweaver, but really what it is just minimizing your reload time, or the amount of time that you spend reloading. Careful, our traversal here is right out in the middle of the open, and although I really like us navigating away from our team, because I don't really like teams playing playing stacked on top of each other, right? If there's a safer traversal, like using cover, right, then that might be more advisable. Or even, you know, you have a pedal, right? So you might not even need to go over there to not be on your team. You might be able to just jump up here, right? So I'm curious about why we move over there. It forces us to, you know, we're looking that direction. So one of our teammates ends up kind of going down at a time when they might have benefited from our healing. Our range is kind of weird as well here, right? We're so far out, but our team is so far in. There's a considerable amount of space between us and our team. And our Reinhardt has, if Overwatch 2 boils down to two principles, those being timing and map control. Isn't this an interesting timing that your Rein at a like after he pins here is getting pulled into again what is effectively like the middle of the open, right? So you're not even, when you're pulling your Reinhardt, right, you're not even pulling him to a high ground position or around a corner, right, where he can stabilize or plan out his next move. And it's also at a time like where he's used his mobility cooldown, so like he has to walk back up to catch up to his targets. Now in this instance, I think that that's an absolutely fine grippy, but it is something worth considering, right? Am I pulling someone who isn't going to have their mobility cooldowns? Oh, as soon as you get that tree, I lay it down, by the way. The policy is if you have it, use it. Now, we generated it like kind of last second, and it would have been really hard to find within ourselves the time and energy and processing power and speed that we need to understand, oh my goodness, I'm under pressure by an ultimate from the N-Ray. I have to plant my tree because that's the way that I'm going to live the easiest or most reliably. But that is the policy. If you have it, use it. And so if you have it, you got to use it right there, right? Unfortunate that we get slept here, but part of the reason that we get slept, I want to take a look at our movement, right? Look at our movement, right? There's no variability in it, right? We are just walking forward in a straight line down the main angle, right? Out in the middle of the open, right? We're away from our walls, corners, covers. Now, okay, coach, I'm just outside of the spawn. Well, yeah, absolutely. But this is a basis of principle, right? Look at how still far out in the open we are. Look at how we're still moving only W or only S or only forward and only back, right? There's no side-to-side strafing. There's no variability in the movement, right? And then our understanding to get the pedal is just a little bit too early, right? But when we're playing on top of our team, that also makes us eligible to take the same amount of damage. And wouldn't you rather your Emery be taking the damage here than you be taking any kind of aggression, right? Not to mention, if their team is fighting here, you should ult, right? This is a whole fight that is happening here where they're getting picks, they're establishing advantages, and you want to contest that, right? So even though you guys aren't totally reset, even though it's in your spawn, right, it's still worth ulting because they are driving you guys to have to make decisions. One of the good ones that you can make is using your ult. Be careful about shooting the Doom block at all, because if you shoot it and one teammate shoots it, then he's going to get that power block charge off of it, and that's going to empower his next punch. That's going to be really hurtful to you because he's always going to punch you with the empowered punch that he charged off of one of your teammates doing damage after you did a tiny bit of damage, right? We still haven't used our ultimate here, which is a little bit unfortunate. And then as far as what are we doing here? You know, I probably look to pull the Ryan, but he's out. He's out before we have the opportunity to do anything, right? Now, it's possible that you know, we have steps back out here, right, instead of moving in here. And if we had moved all the way through here, right, wouldn't we have been in time to be able to save the Reinhardt, right? So it's always better in than out, and that one's going to be really hard to quantify here. It's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of going back to kind of illustrate why that would have been the best call, especially since you were being assailed by the Doomfist there. But it's not really going to be necessary to for us to walk away with the principle. Years of coaching, thousands of hours, and tons of corroborating data and evidence and scenarios help me understand that, like, instead of timidly walking backwards when you're under pressure by the Doomfist right here, just jump through the window, right? Take cover, go to the health pack. This is map control, timing and map control, right? So we've gotten to talk about timing, like when you pulled your Reinhardt, right? And we've gotten to talk about map control now, health packs, right? So playing your health packs, going to them, right? Navigating to them, using your ult to help you play sections of the map that you typically can't control, or using your ult to make sure that you absolutely control the section of the map that you literally can't lose with the ult. I'm not a huge fan of that grippy, right? Your Reinhardt can body the aggression. You're like permanently healing him anyways. And I honestly haven't seen too much like us missing opportunities to do damage. But part of the reason is because we aren't putting ourselves in positions to do any damage. We control the objective, so do we have to be on it as if we are trying to capture it, right? Does the position that we're playing help us understand where they are, and if we know where they are, might that also help us understand what they might be doing, right? They're on Ana, right? They're on Emre, right? So do they want to play at the long ranges? They're on Onron, so does she want to play the close corners, right? And the really close spaces? They're on Doomfist, so does he want to fly overhead, right? And the earlier you see them, the sooner you can understand, okay, how might this player not only use this character in the space that they are, or to get to the space that they will be, right, which is typically going to be the section of the map that I control, especially if I make myself visible to them. They're going to say, hey, there's a Weaver over there, let's go get him, right? But then you can be ready for that because you watch them walk out of spawn, or that you watch them round a corner, and you said, hey, that's a Doomfist, he is going to punch me if I don't move, and you're good to move, and he's going to go punch in, and all of a sudden, he's wasted his punch, won't have it for 4 seconds, and you're already back within the core of your team or on a position that you would like to be, right? So part of the reason that I'm not able to talk about opportunities to do healing, or to do more damage than healing, is because we just aren't in the position to to do any damage. That would be based on like scouting info. Sorry. So the reason that I mention this is because actually the question that this player had, and I felt a little bit schizophrenic. I was like, wait, am I thinking of another Weaver player? But I think this is the only Weaver code that I've got in my spreadsheet. One of the questions that they say, how can I become better? I can pull out 20k healers, and I always average 8k healers, but no damage, right? And that's really interesting. I really love that we mentioned that as well, because, you know, Overwatch is so much more than the numbers that the statistics or the scoreboard reveal to us. It is oftentimes that the scoreboard tells us even less than, like, half of the story, even a third of the story. I think it actually tells a remarkably, a profoundly little amount. It doesn't give you any operable data at all, right? That is all contained in the actual fight phases, right? And you don't see those kinds of stats in the scoreboard, right? And so citing the numbers, citing the stats, right? Yeah, you can go 20k healing, but that won't always win. That won't always win you games, right? We've had a good round, but again, it's partially because, you know, our team was really comfortable on some of those spaces. We had some really nice nice fights. I did notice the ult deployment at the very end there, which was fantastic. You might have had time for 2 ultimate casts if you had ulted as early as possible, because you do want to ult as early as possible in the game so that you can generate the next one for that last fight, right? If you ult at the beginning and a half of the match, are you able to have that tree for the last fight at the end of the match, right? That's a really important consideration, right? But we're also playing the main angle a lot, right? We're stacking right on top of our Reinhardt, right behind the rest of our team, who are all full HP. And if our team isn't shooting or looking at anything, right, and we know that they aren't because they aren't taking damage, and we know that they aren't taking damage because we are doing healing to them and not getting ult charge off of it, and we're not watching their health bars go down and up, right? Oh, that's really unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. Yeah. I don't know. So anyways, if all of that is true, then we also understand that there is a better opportunity to, like, go and do damage, right? My team doesn't see anything, so I have to go find something. I have to go figure out where they are. Knowledge is power in Overwatch, and I've talked about scouting in plenty of my vids. And so, okay, so this is where I think it's the pathing here that messes me up a little bit. Yeah, it's always safer in than out. So, like, as your Reinhardt is going in, you should be looking to swing with him, right? So instead of backing up into the Rein pin, right, outside of the fact that, like, okay, yeah, obviously Coach Reinhardt can't pin all the way over here, right? He can't wide swing like that. But also, we're moving in because we see our Reinhardt looking to round the corner here. We're moving in because it's always safer in than out. We're moving in because Reinhardt has known that you're over there, saw you dash off your pedal, and started pinning around the corner, hoping that he gets you, hoping that you would walk backwards, right, over here instead of forwards over here with your team, on, like, based on how the fight is going, right, and where your teammates are kind of staging themselves to play next. He's banking on that you make that, you know, critical step backwards. I call it one step in the wrong direction, so that he can land the pin elimination on you there, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Out in the open, we're too far away from our walls, corners, covers. Really nice that we get the care there. And a little unfortunate that we aren't able to save our Reinhardt, but we have to look out for number 1 here. And honestly, if we don't want to be susceptible to the Emery damage while standing in this position, then we should just deploy the pedal here and peek out here. We can pull the Rein and even get scouting info. We don't have to do damage or draw from the high ground to get a pick that we fool ourselves into thinking we have to secure, but we can get scouting info, right? We can figure out where people are, and we can think, okay, if I know where the Emery is, might that help me understand how he might play into me, right? If I know where the Ana is, does that mean that I know where the nade will come from? If I see where the Reinhardt is, does that mean that I'll know which barrier to shoot or which direction to shoot to shred the barrier? Or will I know where I need to not play in order so that I'm not only shooting the barrier, right? If that makes sense, right? Sometimes I know where I have to be because I know where I isn't, and sometimes I know where they is because of where I know they aren't, right? It's like a logic puzzle, guys. Have you guys ever done those? Like where you're like doing the X's and the dots and like different orders and stuff like that? Anyways, I'm gonna sound like a schizophrenic person. This is really good, but it's like no variable movement, right? We're just moving forward and backwards. So binary, right? We are moving forward in a straight line, and there's no opportunity that we take to move side to side, left, right. We don't dodge any shots. We just kind of hope that we don't take so much damage, and we're right on top of a mini pack. Go grab it. Map control in Overwatch is the second of the two core principles in this game, right? It's timing and map control, right? So you have to seize opportunities to do that, right? So far, this Emre really has a lot of control over the angles that you're wanting to regulate. We didn't opt for the health pack. We had a really nice timing. We got the jump on the Emre during that engage, but he was able to recede to a more powerful angle. And we didn't use any of the sections of the map, right? If I'm going in and I'm, kind of moving left and right, am I able to duck down here, right? Where there's more map control, by the way. Am I able to pedal because I don't have a ceiling that I have to worry about? And that will help me jump behind the Emre, right? Or jump somebody else, right? We have options that we aren't considering because we're just not thinking about them, and I actually, totally understand that. But we're also a Lifeweaver OTP, right? So if we are taking every game as an opportunity to do the, to kind of play the exact same way instead of get experimental, right? See where we can pedal, see how we can move, right? See the unique ultimates we can cast, see the matchups that we can and can't take that are more or less favorable to engage ourselves in, right? Then I don't know why we would be playing the game, right? I don't want to play Skyrim over and over and over again where I'm just running a wizard every single time. Outside of the fact that that's really boring up until the point you hit level 40, and by that point you've already completed the main story and most of the mid-game level content, right? It's also just like not necessarily it's not necessarily how the game works, right? The game is there to engage with in many ways, and the most variable experiences and most memorable ones are always going to be the ones that are a little bit different from each other, right? That have some of these shared roots, right? I remember all of the cool moments in Skyrim. I remember some of my biggest plays in Overwatch, and those all happened in Skyrim or in Overwatch, but that doesn't mean that I have to play these games the same way each and every single time. So if I see you walk main here, oh, okay, all right, then pedal up to the high ground, right? We have to do something different. We have to engage in the game with all of the different things. If pedal can take us up to the high ground, if it can help us dodge shots or a shatter, right? Because you can pedal your teammates up to help them dodge, follow up on the shatter. You can plant tree to block the Sigma ultimate cast, right? We can use our pedal, I think, to deploy the seed. We can use our dash to self heal or to get to a new position, right? We should be doing It's Always Safer in. Why heal the Reinhardt when he's all the way out here when, you've got a target that you can pressure over here? Although I understand, this is actually a really good grippy. I really like that grippy. I don't understand that. Is that its own keybind? Hold on. How does this perk work? I haven't played Weaver in so long. Oh, quick melee with healing blossom to throw a seed. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Does that have a cooldown? It does. Okay. Okay, that's very cool. I like that. I like that you're using that. I just want you to use all of the other parts of Weaver's kit in the ways that make sense, right? More damage equals less pressure. If you don't have the grip to help them, spare themselves of the nade damage in a position that they really shouldn't be in, and Emre already has the advantage of okay, here's the illusion that I've used before. If you are walking home after the movies and you get mugged in a dark alley, right? You and your buddy and this guy, pulls your friend aside and holds a gun to their head and is like, all right, hand over all your money. Your friend gets it, right? And you're sitting there watching this unfold, right? What is your approach to help to save your friends? Is it to pump them full of syringes as a nade it gets tossed at their feet, or is it to pull out your Glock and shoot this person in the head? Kill the Emre, right? Shoot the Emre. Apply the pressure, right? And we're also doing this thing where we only move forward and backwards in one direction. Variable movement. We have to do things differently. That's the whole premise, right? And Lifeweaver is, in my opinion, the first interesting support hero since Ana. I think we've gotten some really good support heroes and some really interesting heroes, especially Cat, since then, although I hate the Cat. But I thought that when Lifeweaver released, I was like, this is the first interesting support hero since Ana. This is the first one that doesn't only heal, doesn't only damage, right? Doesn't only sit there and pump heals into a tank, right? Although he ended up being a little bit of a heal bot character during his early era. But now we're at a really good spot where you can do the damage, you can apply the pressure, you can do the healing, you can do the lifting, the map control, you can drag people to where you want them to stage, you can help to save them from danger. I think we're going to get the cleanse as like a default aspect of his kit now, right? But you've also got perks that can change your approach. Deploy the seed, right? It's no longer the parting gift passive. It's an active cast that you can go for, right? And this level of activity we want to maintain as we're playing the character as a whole in this match, right? So again, doing everything that this character does. We're on the low ground here, on the middle of the open, away from our walls, corners, covers, with a pedal in the bank that we could be using to get a really nice angle where we not only can't be contested, but we're also on top of like our entire rest of our team. I don't like playing on top of each other, but like if Yuri wasn't here, then I would want you to be, right? Since Yuri is here, right? Could you be all the way on this high ground here with an angle for once they engage, right? If your Reinhardt is wanting to fight this close, right? Is there a way for you to enable that, right? We're close to our tree. I hope we're going to plant it here. Excellent. Really, really good, right? And same kind of deal, like apply a little bit of pressure, right? And especially during times where you're going to end up like finding that you have to reload as Weaver, right? That's an opportunity. That's an indication, okay, I have to switch to the other gun, right? Oh my goodness, we're trying to figure it out. Do I do healing or damage? Healing or damage? It's just a lot of healing. Oh my god, that's horrible. I've heard that twice now. The April Fool's lines are so brutal. Very good. The AFKs are a little bit funny. Oh, wait. Oh, it's not over. They're still on us. Yeah, I'd be doing damage here. I'd be looking to do as much damage as I possibly can. Partially because doing damage is fun. I'm actually a former support player. I still have the most amount of hours in this game on Zenyatta, but I've really picked up DPS lately, and I only play that role because it's not as boring as support. And so I'd be doing damage there just because I think it's fun. Alrighty. Diskk, thank you so much for the replay code. This one was a fun one. Gives me an opportunity to flex some of the creative writing skills. You know, I wish that I could do something about the literacy crisis. I wish that I could, you know, find a way to inspire, you know, young kids to want to read and love reading and love to explore ideas and worlds and characters and ideas and philosophies. But you know, when you write like me, which is as I talk, I write like I talk, and that makes it very difficult to follow stories and narratives, characters, and sentences, grammatical structures, things like that. You know, I sometimes sit here and I wonder, well, gosh, you know, how can I even help with the literacy crisis if I can even lock down a way of writing or speaking that is sensible to other people. Alrighty. I'm just looking for a nice closing song. Oh man, it would have been nice if I had timed my my thing a little bit better to work with that song. I really like that song. All right. So yeah, guys, thanks for the replay code, Diskk, and for giving me the opportunity to kind of find a way to segue a little, like I said, a little bit of a little creative writing demonstration right there. Hopefully you guys like the excerpt. I don't know when that book is getting published, so you guys are just gonna have to subscribe and, you know, stay tuned. A huge thank you goes to you, Diskk, for providing your gameplay today. The first Lifeweaver code that we actually got to examine. And guys, if you would like to have your VODs reviewed for free on the channel, then use the Google form below to submit your replay codes. It's impossible for me to measure my gratitude for those who support the channel, whether it's in the form of the liking, comment, subscribing, or sharing me around. And definitely share me with your friends and contemporaries, guys. That would be so awesome. But also those who would like to donate to support the channel and literally buy time to help me create the videos, answer questions, engage in our shared passions. These are difficult and expensive times, though, so like no one should be donating to a YouTube channel. But if you would like to support, then you can also book affordable standard or professional standard coaching bookings and sessions for review, discussion. That could be individual, solo, or team or group. VOD review scrims, I'm comfortable with all of it. I don't really do live coaching. But pretty much everything else I'm pretty comfy with. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, thanks for sticking around and giving it a watch. If you guys are a regular, then I am so beyond grateful for you guys. If you're a hater, then leave a comment in the section below. I love hearing from you guys. Oh my goodness, I need more of you guys. I say it every single video. More haters, more haters. Go round up your posse and let's do some witch hunting. Where I'm the witch. Guys, if you're just along for the ride like I am, then stick around. It's going to be a pretty long and an arduous journey. But in the meantime, leave a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications so that you guys can see the instant that new videos premiere. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Remember to be good to each other, be fair to yourselves, and I'll see you guys in the next one.